Welcome to the. Well, I can do that later. What am I talking about? No, it just helps me get into it though. Sometimes.
Yeah, do it. Go for it, man.
For the record.
Welcome to the Worship Leader Hangout podcast. I have John from the livestreammixco.com. We're just going to talk about what they do, who he is, first of all, and what they do and what they can provide for the church and, I mean, anybody really. But let's get right into it, man. What's up, John? How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you. From our previous conversation and stuff, I'm stoked about this because what you provide can really help the local church on any level, from what I can tell. But I'm just here to learn what you do and what you offer as a service. And then also, I don't know if you have any kind of teaching platform at all, but maybe we can talk about some things that people can do right away to take away from this podcast to make their mix better for their live stream, for their front of house, whatever it may be. So yeah, man, let's get right into it.
Absolutely. Well, a little bit about me. I am a mix engineer, and I work mostly on released music that churches are putting together and artists are putting together. I work with people from Nashville and Los Angeles primarily, and then churches kind of scattered all over the country. And been doing that for many years now. And over the course of mixing, got to know a lot of people in the church world. And, every now and then people would ask me, hey, could you mix this Christmas service that we did. Maybe we were working on their live record, but they had this other little thing that they wanted to get done too, and they wanted us to mix it. And so started doing that and kind of realized, man, like there's a big need, especially as the world becomes more online centric, and live streaming and YouTube and even content on TikTok and Instagram is becoming very, very powerful and a good tool for the church to use. And so churches would ask us to, let's say mix like a Christmas Eve or an Easter, and then they'd take that and they'd chop it up and they'd use it for a church online live stream. Then they'd also repurpose it for TikTok content of worship moments that happened during that time. Then they'd take the sermon and they'd use it as a podcast, and it just became like this content resource. And so back in September of 2022, we started a new project called the Livestream Mixco that was just focused on helping churches with mixing for online content, whether that's live stream, whether it's for YouTube, TikTok, whatever they're trying to do, but it's for their online presence to give them a great mix and something they can put forward. And so it started off really template focused. We were helping churches build templates for their live streams so they could do it all in-house, and that's great, and we still do a lot of that. But eventually it also kind of moved into helping churches produce full services, and helping them produce podcasts and, helping them with video and editing, and of course the mix. The mix is always our focus. And so that's kind of what we're doing now, and it's really just a service-based project. We're just here to serve churches and help churches. I do a lot of the work. I've got a few other engineers from various churches who help out with the work, and we're also working on some products as well. Nothing's officially announced yet, but some drum sample packs that are specifically geared for live stream and for the church, for people to use in pre-pro. And for their live streams, and then also some stock templates and some plugins that we hope to have available for people to use. Anyway, so there's kind of some products that we're thinking about too.
A lot.
Yeah, as
That's
we come
great.
across, problems, churches come to us with their issues, just trying to find solutions to all of those, and make them accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started out as, here's a template, for different type of dolls or whatever, and then also boards as well. Like you just kind of sent them a template for that, and then and it just became more of like, well, you know what, just let us do it. And like,
both,
put the template in, but let us just send us the recording and we'll take care of it. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
How many churches or like houses of worship or other venues do you have?
Using our template right now, we probably have, I don't know, 6 or 7 using a template, and then we have probably 5 or 6 more who have us like produce, services or produce worship moments for them, something like that. And then there's a handful of others that we do small miscellaneous jobs. So we're not huge by any means. I would say it's under 20 churches right now that we're working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I asked that because if it were a lot, then it's like, okay, well, they can handle more. But if it's small, it's like, it also gives you that like, oh, maybe we can get in there and we can be one of their churches and be like really taken care of. So
definitely,
I like that.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think the plan is, as more churches come and as we start providing this more, I'm always really actively seeking out other engineers and kind of just getting them prepped and letting them know, hey, here's how we're doing it. Here's the formula. Do you want to be a part of this? And building a team is something that I love. And so we're in the process of doing that. And the hope is to be able to scale and handle anyone who comes. We want to serve all of you,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's cool because it's hard for some of the churches, I think my size and down, which we're right up under 200 regularly. We're probably a church of over 200, but regularly here in the building is right up under that. And it's just kind of a little difficult. I think we have 4 full-time staff. Something like that, 4 or 5, I don't know, whatever. Some interns and some part-time, and then some paid musicians. But what we don't have is what you guys provide, and maybe we will one day, and I would love to one day. But I'm doing some of that work, some volunteers, and then some interns are doing a lot of that work right now. But for a church our size, it's like, wow, this is like hiring a person.
Yes.
But probably not to the scale and the expense that it would be to actually try to get a person here. And if you were to try, I mean, that'd be a lot of money to have that person do all of what you guys do. And so I'm assuming it's not $40,000 a year with benefits,
right,
or more, or, well, some less, of course. But anyway, just to kind of give some hope.
That's a huge heart behind it, is to try and provide what smaller churches probably can't afford and shouldn't afford. It would be silly, but we can offer it to you in a very specific way. We can handle the sound, the content. We can help you get there and, set up a retainer, whatever we can do, but we'll get it way, way, way cheaper than you having to hire, whoever to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one thing I am putting that together right now. And as like a proposal sort of thing, like a couple different hires in this sort of area, like a front of house engineer that also does this through the week. But it's going to take some money to be able to do that. So I say this to encourage churches, the smaller church. Like, of course, you want to get the word out there and get your message out there, which is hopefully the gospel. And we want to continue to spread the gospel, and this is a great way to do that. But professionally, so that way it's actually listened to and watched, because that's a big deal. Like, a video is only as good as its audio, in my opinion, and the audio is such a big deal. I can't tell you how many times I've turned on a stream and you can hear, okay, they have good vocals, their band is good, but it sounds like trash, like the overall sound. And I think it's important or it sounds like somebody's. And I've seen this actually at a church where they asked me to come in. Somebody's holding an iPad and filming, and you watch you go back to Facebook, of course it's on Facebook, and it's, it looks like they're doing this the whole time. Right. And it sounds like, they're talking, like, it's just the worst. And anyway, this really speaks to me, like what you guys provide. And so anyway, that's why we're doing this. So you said you told me, I feel like I'm kind of confusing like this podcast with what you've already told me. So I want to kind of go through all the things that you do for people as far as templates, and maybe some scenarios of what you provide. And actually, you sent me some before and after, so we can do that too. So is the before and after from a template, or like just, hey, you send us what you have and then we can mix it and this is what it sounds like? or both?
Yeah, so the before and after that you can show that I sent over to you is an example of a template.
Okay.
And what that looks like is a church will come to us and say, we want to upgrade the live stream. And we have a consultation call and we say, okay, what do you want to do? What are you capable of? And how can we help you? And usually it lands on one of two paths. Either they want a real-time live stream that airs at the exact time as their in-person service, and they want it to be current with their in-person service. In that case, then a template is what they usually land on.
Yeah.
And so what we ask them to do is send us all of their tracks, to multi-track all their services for like maybe 4 to 6 weeks so that they get their full band rotation over to us. So we have an individual channel and recording for every singer, guitar player, etc.
Right.
And so then we mix.
That might take some education too for
Yes.
some of those people is how to
Yep.
multi-track record.
Exactly.
Which, if you're watching this and this is something you are at the beginning of, I'll link some videos below of some really good examples of that.
Yes.
Of how to get started in multi-tracking. Anyway, just letting them know.
Yep. Nope. Exactly. And with the digital console, typically it's a fairly simple process. But if you've never been in a computer before or a DAW and you've never tried to route that from a board, it can be kind of confusing. So that is step one, and we try and help guide people through that. Once they get us the files, we mix it all. And so when they get the template back in whatever DAW they choose, Logic, Studio One, Pro Tools, then what they're looking at is they're looking at Chad guitar, Chad vocal, Steven vocal, Steven guitar. They're looking at everybody. Each has their own channel. And then they can go through and just use the channels that are in rotation that Sunday, if that makes sense.
Right,
And that's kind of that's the template path. And then, we also ask them a bunch of questions like, will you have an engineer running this?
Let me stop you right there real quick.
Yeah, go.
That I want to highlight that point, that even for somebody that is like, I want to do my own mix and I'm learning things to be able to do that and become, somebody like you have a separate channel for each person on your DAW or your software.
Yeah.
Not just that position.
Yes.
So it'd be like, I have a Jackson, he's an electric guitarist. Jackson, electric guitarist. And then I have a Bill who's also an electric guitarist. Bill has a channel. And
yes, right.
usually their mix is going to be different from each other, or not their mix, their signal, whatever they're sending is going to be different. So I like that. I just wanted to highlight that. So sorry to cut you off.
For sure. Nope, that's great. It is super important. And it looks bigger and it looks more complicated, but when you sit down to mix, it is such a step ahead. Yeah, to be there. So anyway, we ask them, is this going to be manned by an engineer? Or is it going to have to just be static? And that kind of tells us how we need to mix it. Do we need to make it very tight and contained, foolproof, to where it doesn't matter how loud this guy sings, he's like, he's going to be compressed against the glass? Or is there going to be an engineer back there who can move things and adjust things? If so, we'll leave it a little more natural. Stuff like that. We also like to ask, like, how big is your room? Are you playing with bundles or sticks? Because if we add drum samples, we certainly don't want a 200-person church to have a snare drum that sounds like it's in Bethel, right? It's just, it's a disconnect for the audience, and it feels awkward to listen to. And so, trying to make it feel like this is a part of your church, an extension of your church. So that's the template route. And then the other path that people land on is having us produce everything. And this is for churches who want the highest quality product, and don't want to pressure their team or their time with having to get all that done. And so what they'll usually do is they'll send us the raw stems right off of their board after a Sunday, multi-track again, everything raw. We'll take it, we'll tune all the vocals, we'll edit some things if they want that as part of the, package or service. We'll cover over mistakes, we'll get pastor's message all, mixed, and we'll even do video. If they don't have the time to do video switching live, or they want us to do it in post, we'll color grade all the footage, we'll do all the video switching, and then they can take that file, the finished product, and they can stream it the following Sunday during their regular service times, which puts their online audience just 1 week behind the in-person service, but it still feels live because it's at the same time and you're airing it as if it were live. or they'll opt
That's
to
cool.
do like a midweek. Like we'll air our Sunday service on Wednesday night, and a lot of churches do this as a way to keep people engaged too. Because say you have services on Sunday morning, then everyone gets home from church. You air your service at 2 p.m. on Instagram and Facebook. All the people who just got home from church get to watch another service of yours. Maybe they're from a different church, but they're blessed by your ministry too in the afternoons. So it can be really profitable for the kingdom to air things at different times other than just on
through the
Sunday
week.
morning.
Yeah,
For sure. And then
47
they'll
hours
also
outside of the church service or something like that.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
Anyway.
And so, churches will also use that to upload to YouTube so people can just watch it whenever, or they'll use it for TikTok or social media content. So anyway, those are kind of the two paths that churches typically go with.
That's cool. Let's go with the first path, and that's the template.
Yes,
I want to
template.
play. We should be able to hear this over this stream as well, but I'll put it in. I have to put it in post just because it'll sound so much better.
I get you.
But here, we'll try it anyway. Here we go.
Wandering into the night,
Can you hear it?
wanting a
little bit.
place to hide this weary
So that's the
soul,
switch there,
Yep.
this vagabond.
and then back.
And I've tried with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting.
Now, are you just toggling on and off, or are there other small changes happening?
It's just toggling on and off.
And just when I ran
And that's on, of course.
road, I met a man I didn't know, and he told me that I was not alone.
Sounds so good. And this was at where?
He picked me
Rivers
up,
Crossing in Cincinnati.
turned me around, placed my feet
Sorry,
on solid
that was at Rivers Crossing in Cincinnati.
Yep, Cincinnati.
That's cool. That sounds. You can clearly hear a different. And I've heard that first sound. I'll just play it one more time. I've heard this first sound so many times, even from my own mix.
wanting a place to
Just that
hide
super, like-
this weary soul.
Like this kind of sound.
Yeah.
Where,
Vagabond.
anyway, it's hard to explain. Like maybe squeezed or
Yeah.
I don't know how to put that into words sometimes. But it just feels like your ears being covered, and then just everything just opens up, and you're hearing in 4K kind of thing.
Yes.
But
yeah.
anyway, that sounds really good. I would like to say we are almost there as far as our mix, but I don't know. I'd have to. I would love to just like let you have your way with it and just see how far back we actually were. But anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just play that. You'll hear the audio, but I'm gonna watch the video of this at Seven Hills Church. This is a Christmas promo, and this is an example of like you just taking the whole
church.
thing.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Let me play this. I'll just open it up in QuickTime here. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna watch it, and I'll put it on the screen in post.
Okay.
For he is worthy. Come and adore him. Come and adore him. Come and adore him. For he is worthy. In mercy, mild, God and sinners
the bass.
reconciled. Joyful, all ye nations.
That sounds really good.
rise.
And this
Join
was
the
something that they took and posted as a hey, come to.
Yep. Exactly.
Seven
Yep. So
Hills
it was an in-person service, and then they also put it online just as extra content for people to watch throughout the year whenever they wanted to.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And then they recorded it all on SD cards, or did they switch it? Use a
so
switcher?
this is one where they did the video switching,
They did the video
and we
switching.
just did the audio on this one.
Okay, so they handled all the video switching. You did the audio and then just sent it back, and they layered it underneath. And
Exactly. And they already had the video all done. Yep. That's right.
that's cool. That looks good. But, I mean, they did the video, but it sounded really good. I listened to the whole thing already, but
Yeah, for sure.
anyway, yeah, you can clearly hear the difference in. And
Yep.
do you know that first stream, was that just the raw stems coming in, and you're just like, all right, just record the stems, we'll take it and do, or was that like how they actually would have tried to mix it on the template side?
On the template one, the before that you were hearing is we just ripped that same service, that we mixed, because what happens is they stream the service, and while they're streaming, they're multi-tracking, and during the onloading process, they send us those multi-tracks. So they're still streaming them though their old way, and so we just ripped off of YouTube their old audio. So that is the actual stream. That's how it sounded when they streamed it live, and then the mix, the after, is what we did with it when we mixed it for their template. And that's how they sound now when they do live services. And you can go check them out. They sound really good. They're doing a great job with it.
Yeah.
And
what church is that
before
one?
and after, it's Rivers Crossing, Cincinnati.
You said that. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And that demo, the before and after, is a static demo. So it means that there's no faders being adjusted during the after sound. It's all just flat line, static. And that's just kind of what the mix sounds like by itself. And now the Rivers Crossing volunteers, they handle it all on their own.
Yeah.
You know, they're mixing it every week, and they're doing a really great job with it. So
Yeah, let's hit that, because you were telling me in our conversation earlier is when you mix the template, you guys pretty much flatline all the faders.
Yep.
So that way your volunteers are just making minor adjustments, right? You're doing all the leveling basically through gain and maybe other things, but
Yep.
mostly gain, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So you could say like the LMC style, or the unique way that we're trying to implement templates, is the input gain coming into the DAW, which is directly connected to the board's gain in most cases, is checked at the door, essentially. So when the signal comes from the board at whatever the front of house engineer had it set at, and it goes into the DAW, the first plugin in the DAW is usually just like some generic EQ plugin. And that plugin's only job is to adjust the gain coming into that channel. And every channel in the template is gained to -10. And so then after that, there's, more plugins in the chain. And we use those other plugins, the input and output gain of those plugins, to actually set the volume in the mix.
Right,
because we also want all the faders at 0. So when someone receives a template from us, all the gain is set to -10 on every channel, and every fader is set to 0. And that makes the volunteer experience much, much faster, because all they have to do is sit down on a Sunday morning and say, okay, during sound check, we'll go through and click this plugin, -10, this plugin, -10. They don't have to remember, there's no differences. It's not like kick is at -20 and vocals at -5. It's all the same. And then they just snap all the faders back to 0, or, maybe they're already at 0. And that's it. Then it's exactly how we intended it to be mixed. And then they can take the initiative after that and do minor adjustments all day long to make it right for that specific week,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when what you're saying is like from week to week, they just want to reset it back. And they know, I'm resetting gain back to -10, and I'm resetting our faders back to unit or back to 0, all the way across.
Exactly.
And now it's what they originally mixed for us, basically what you're saying. Yeah. That probably really helps that volunteer just to be able to go, all right, we got a new one in. Or could they just bring the template back as like reload the template, I guess, in a sense.
That is faster. Yeah, just don't save it. After that Sunday, just don't hit save. And just exit out of it, and when you pull it back up the next week, it'll be right back to where it was.
Pretty much, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, I thought about going back to Logic for our online mix just because I enjoy tinkering with it through the week and just trying to make it better and better each week. And it's also an easier way for volunteers to learn how to mix if they're wanting to learn that more than just operate it. They can like actually try to, you could turn off all your plugins and be like, all right, give it a try. But I mean,
exactly.
That's an extreme case, but I really love what you're offering. Is there something that we haven't touched on in this?
Man, I don't think so. I mean, other than just that, sometimes we'll just do a sermon, we'll just do a sermon every week for a church, get it mixed for them, and, try and get the babies crying out of the house mics and stuff.
Yeah, for real.
And podcasts, we produce podcasts too. A lot of churches do that, and we'll do the video and audio for that if needed. But man, that's basically it. We're here to help you sound great live. And we're working on I guess like a stock template with all stock plugins, and we're going to be shooting a video soon with me mixing a new church that we're about to onload. And we're going to film me mixing it and use that as kind of like an educational tool. And then people can just buy that and do it themselves if they want to. They can learn the LMC style and they can implement it on their own. So I think that's going to be a really great thing too for churches who don't want to, have to send it to us and get us involved. They can, just get that template and do it on their own.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is one piece of advice? So if you have young guys out there getting into mixing, live stream mixing, front of house, what's one or maybe a couple pieces of advice you would give them just to make their sound, I guess, better?
Definitely. So I think the cliche advice is get it right at the source, get better source material. But beyond that, I'll take it a step beyond that, because sometimes it's hard to know. If you've never been exposed to really excellent material, maybe you don't know what a really good snare drum should sound like through a mic. And so when you mic yours and you hear a lot of beef, you're like, oh, that is good, but maybe it's way too much beef and there's no crack and you just didn't realize it. So what I would recommend is to study. Study what good things sound like when they're mic'd. And a great way to do that would be to download multi-tracks off of some live record that you like from multitracks.com. And, sometimes they'll have samples and stuff in there, sure, but you will get a much better idea of how that can sound. So that's advice number one is learn what good sounds like, so that you're not chasing yourself in a circle trying to make it good when maybe it just never is. The second thing is be careful about getting too heavy with processing too early in the mixing phase. So, for instance, when we pull up a session, the number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the kick where I want it, to where it's, at a loud volume. Okay. And then I'm going to bring the bass guitar in, the lead vocal in, and one melodic instrument. And what that's going to help me do is it's going to help me set the low end at the right spot so it's not smashing against the limiter and cramping and clamping down on the mix. But having the vocal in is also going to help me remember what's important so that I don't make this massive kick drum sound and bass sound that leaves no room for vocals and guitars. So It's all about context. You have to keep objectivity and context. So bring in the kick bass, maybe the snare, if you want to have something to juxtapose to the kick, and then bring the vocal and one melodic instrument and just start with that. And when that sounds good, then bring in the pads, then bring in the tracks, the overheads. But all that stuff is secondary to making sure your kick, snare, low end, and vocal are going to be where you want them to be. So that would be my second piece of advice.
That's big right there. I like that. All right, so people can find you at thelivestreammixco.com, right?
.com, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, thelivestreammixco.com. And
that's right.
As far as pricing and all that, that's all on there, or they just contact you for...
Yeah, just contact us. The consultation calls are free. We're happy to sit down and talk with you, find out what might be best for you. Some people, they don't even end up using us. We just tell them, hey, you're doing fine. Just, buy this thing or try this. We'll listen to their live stream and be like, yeah, you're super close. Just do this. So give us a call, set up a call with us, and then we can kind of point you in the right direction. And if it comes down to you want a template from us or you want us to just handle your mixing, then it's kind of just on a per client basis what the price is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you gave me the best idea all day is just convince everybody, hey, we're just going to record and this one will go live next week. I don't know why I love that so much. It's like, it almost seems like a no-brainer, but then again, that does have to bring in some other elements. Like we only have 2 cameras that we're running live, and we could throw in 1 or 2 more and mix those in post. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what were we thinking? You know what I mean? Like we could, anyway.
It's the best case scenario, as long as, a lot of church leadership really feels passionate that the live stream should be live so that when people tune in, they feel like this is happening really. My friends are there. I can see them in the crowd, and so there is, I guess it just comes down to a matter of purpose, is your online content for furthering the church's message, or is it for shut-ins? What is the live stream for? And that kind of determines how you approach that. But I agree. It is the best case scenario. Sounds so good.
And that's a good conversation for the church staff to have. Is like,
Yeah.
what's the point of this? Like, why are we spending
Yeah.
money on live stream when we could just be doing it all here and people got to be here? But that's just
Right.
kind of not the world we're living in now. And
Right.
if people are sick or whatever, they do want to be able to tune into something. And I see what you mean, because if they were there last week and they're sick this week, then they're looking at the same message.
Exactly.
So I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah, that's
I totally
that
get
is the
that.
downside. Yeah.
But that person, that's a lot of people that look at your live stream just don't know your church, and they're investigating.
Exactly. Yes.
And they don't have a
That
clue.
is the primary reason people watch live streams. And a lot of churches, have a congregation far outside their state. Some people have, you look at their analytics and they've got 87 people who watch in Africa every week, and they've got 100 people who watch in Europe every week. And so if that's the point of the live stream, is to get outside of the walls of your church, and then, obviously I always push using the content on social media because I think it's underused by churches. But if you're trying to get some message snippets on TikTok or worship moments on Instagram, that is probably the best idea for that.
Yeah. And that's so easy to just sit down, watch the stream, cut it up,
Yep.
put it online. I mean,
Yep.
A minute or less at a time on
Yep.
TikTok,
Exactly.
Instagram, and YouTube. But anyway, that's another podcast. I can go on for days about that. And I really appreciate you being here and being a part of this and on the podcast or whatever this video ends up being. But
Of course, man.
man, this is some valuable information. And I hope everybody that watches this at least goes to the website, checks it out, and see what you guys can do. And maybe you'll get a few calls within the next few weeks, and get some extra churches added on to what you already have. And
Yeah, man, I super appreciate you having me on. It's great to be able to talk about what we're doing, and I love what you're doing too. Big fan of the channel.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I hope people can
appreciate it.
find some value in this, whether they reach out to us or not. I hope that some things we said maybe got them thinking in a way that's going to help them improve, or maybe cut off some weight. Some people are carrying a lot of weight. Like, we got to make this amazing and the best, but sometimes when you cut that off and you're like, let's just focus on in-person church. It's really nice, So whatever
right.
that is, whatever the Lord's speaking,
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. And I appreciate it. John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. If you want to know more about John and what he does, go check out the link below. I got it all laid out for you, and whatever else I talked about in this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, great worship leaders are always learning. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much, man.
Cool, dude.
So good
Thank
to
you
have
so
on
much.
for real.
That was awesome.